Mr. Biden's poll numbers have been mired in dangerous territory since he oversaw the chaotic withdrawal of the American military from Afghanistan. The introduction of popular legislation on infrastructure and renewable energy investment has done little to increase its popularity. The White House's effort to promote economic improvements under the banner of Bidenomics has done little to convince voters of its benefits. I don't expect any long-term benefits politically, Julian E. Zelizer, a professor political history at Princeton University, said of Mr. Biden's handling the war in Israel. We live in an age where polarization is so deep that no matter magnitude of crisis or performance of president, it is unlikely to make a difference. Many voters interviewed on Friday were skeptical of Mr. Biden's call send $14 billion in aid to Israel, let alone another $60 billion Ukraine. Samantha Moskowitz, a 27-year-old psychology student at Georgia Gwinnett College in Atlanta suburbs, said the prospect of sending billions of dollars to Israel and Ukraine concerns me, especially with state our economy is in right now. I don't like the idea of the money being sent, said Ms. Moskowitz, who did not vote for Mr. Biden or Donald J. Trump in 2020, and said it was too early to say whether she would send it. Vote in 2024. There is a need, but do we really need such a serious amount? He said he did not watch Mr. Biden's Oval Office speech on Thursday. About 20.3 million people watched Mr. Biden's speech across 10 television channels, according to preliminary data from Nielsen. Considering that Nielsen data does not record some online viewing numbers, the speech's total audience was certainly larger. Nearly 40 million people watched when Mr. Trump spoke about immigration in the Oval Office in January 2019. Just over 27 million people watched Mr. Biden's State of the Union address in February. Stanley B. Greenberg, who was Mr. Clinton's pollster in 1992, called Mr. Biden's Oval Office speech a very important speech in terms of defining America's security, bringing Iran and Russia to the fore. That it could help rally voters predicted. They will rally around the president and pressure Congress to pass a $106 billion international aid plan that includes money for Ukraine and the Middle East, of course. A year from now, voters will be voting on cost of living, the economy, border, crime and other issues. He said, foreign policy is rarely a deciding factor in voting. But President Biden may be leading the attack on isolationism and a new partisan choice about how we win security. Early polling shows a majority of Americans support Mr. Biden's staunch support for Israel. No national election has been driven by foreign policy since end of the Vietnam War, except in 2004 when President George W. Bush faced mounting criticism for taking country into war against Iraq. If conflict in Israel continues to be in news for weeks and months, nature of presidential